If you're having trouble in your relationship with God or your relationship with people, of giving yourself, because we're so scared of it, Samadhi will make you a giver. Samadhi will enable you to give yourself. You start to give your awareness, you experience that you don't lose anything, but it's all enriched and enhanced when you give your awareness. You begin to discover through Samadhi that, wow, what you would love to do more than anything else is give yourself. You discover it. You find out about it. You have confidence in the process. Samadhi gives you the ability to surrender. But maybe you can surrender without having Samadhi. If you can do that without having Samadhi, you'll get Samadhi. Samadhi enables a person to be steady and steadfast on the path. Because some of these bhaktas who occasionally have this divine mood, they'll be off the path living with somebody in a moment. Without developing purity and focus of mind, they're just gone. Just up and down and back and forth. So confused. Because they'll say, God, I love you today, and they'll hate him and kick him out the door tomorrow. So Samadhi purifies and clarifies and enriches to the point that one can be steady and steadfast in the relationship with the Lord. If you're having trouble being steady in your love affair with God, work for Samadhi. It will do amazing things. Or suddenly some temptation just looms so big in your relationship, in your love relationship with God or with a person. Some temptation, really big temptation. An experience of Samadhi would get rid of the old state and bring you a new state right away, wherein you would have a new experience and a new control, new direction. Samadhi will help divinize the cells. Samadhi will give you independence, freedom from your subconscious thoughts and from negative influences. Samadhi gives you the power to overcome. Power. You get so much energy released that was tied up in your pain and in your low opinion of yourself, that there's this phenomenal power to overcome problems. Ultimately, through practice of Samadhi, you find yourself very easily able to give yourself. The self is given. At that point, it's like Baba Haridas said, we all become bhaktas in the end. We all become bhaktas in the end. Okay. I could make one point. Where does Samadhi mainly occur? In our mind, there are these 5 thoughts, 5 kinds of thoughts with which we identify. There's right knowledge. If we're proud of our right knowledge, we can't have Samadhi. We can't go beyond that. We can't realize who it is that has the right knowledge because we're so identified with the right knowledge. There's wrong knowledge. There's sleep. There's memory. And there's fantasy. It's true, Samadhi will get rid of wrong knowledge and give you right knowledge. And it's true that Samadhi is so real that it's not a fancy. It takes you out of the fancy and fantasy world. And it's true that Samadhi is not sleep, because, boy, you're wide awake and super conscious, so it's not sleep. That leaves memory. Samadhi very often is concerned with memory. Our memories of who we are and what's going on are incorrect, generally. We have a false notion about just about everything. That's Maya. The content of our mind now is based on what we thought a second or a minute or hours or lifetimes ago. All our samskars, all our thoughts, all our patterns have resulted in our present content. And it's generally lousy, corrupt, painful, deceitful, evil, desirous, lustful, all of these things. All of this swarming around like worms in there. Patanjali used to say the divine project was smriti, S-M-R-I-T-I, divine memory. If instead of all these crazy inputs from our past lives and from our unsatisfied desires and from our parents and from the radio and from the TV and from the comic books and from the kids that we hated or dated and hated. All these memories are our personal packet, our sachet of delusion. So samadhi very, very often is concerned with taking the ignorance, the error from the past, and transforming it into spiritual awareness, profoundly true, profoundly beautiful and good, which flashes in the mind and which dominates the content of the mind instead of that crud. It's designed to change the samskars, change the patterns, give you the new for the old, the new life for the old life. And it's our memory, very often, that's the villain. Then again, if we can remember the divine soul and we can remember who we are, we're considered to be liberated beings. Pretty fascinating. Principle of Samadhi. Absorption of the consciousness at progressively subtle levels from a physical object ultimately to the soul and to God. When you have soul realization, that's a part of God. Soul is a focal point of God within yourself. Soul is a focal point of divinity within yourself. You get that far, you'll know the Lord. So the principle of Samadhi, if you understand it, absorption of the consciousness at progressively subtle levels from physical object to the soul. Heavy stuff. I can feel all the minds going. So it's time to relax them a little bit. It's not that hard. Just let it wash over you, folks. Just you can go. So you can do some pretty good dusting with samadhi instead of having to take each particle. It's like they say in yoga, a room is dark for 1,000,000 years. It doesn't have to stay dark for 1,000,000 years. If you bring in a light, there is light from now on. You see. It was dark, now there is light. And that's what samadhi is all about. To bring that light into that dark place, and from that point on there is light. O Lord, thou hast lifted all my sorrows with the vision, with the light of thy face. Now that I've seen you, wham! All these other areas are affected. And there are places, though, that the beginner retains, where he has to allow light to move into these rooms that he's got closed. So if there are rooms where we've closed them against light, closed the door against the light, those rooms have to be opened so we can do arati in there too, weaving of lights. But generally, a samadhi transforms. You know, folks, we wouldn't make it otherwise. We got so many memories, so many samskars, so many thoughts, that just dealing with one desire at a time and all its ramifications, we would have to spend 100,000 lifetimes of fairly good moral living just to wipe out all these tendencies and characteristics. That's why samadhi comes in, and wham, it banishes so much darkness at a time. That's the principle of samadhi. That's the offering of samadhi. You've come here to do yoga. Get yourself ready through these various tools so you can have the tool of samadhi by which you can do this phenomenal cleansing, freeing, liberation, lighting a room at a time instead of having to go over every ounce of it with a toothbrush. You have to be pure enough to have samadhi. Samadhi is this phenomenal purifier. If you can get some momentum of clarification, some momentum of concentration, then you get this accelerated course. You don't need to take grade 1 through 9 if your understanding is at grade 12 level. Instantly, you see. If your understanding is so much greater, then all of those things are forgiven you. You don't have to pay those debts because the purpose of life is to increase in our consciousness. So if your consciousness is so expanded that you can just drop these other things that were problems at the time, just because your awareness is so high, you realize those are ridiculous, they go and they stay away. I mean, like, it's highly doubtful I will have another hamburger. My consciousness is such that while I loved hamburgers, oh, homemade buns, mm, to me they're utterly devastating. My consciousness is such that a hamburger now would not be worth the effort and it would probably taste pretty rough. So instead of having to fight out the karma of enjoying each hamburger in my life, I have a state of awareness which has just banished the whole hamburger syndrome. Samadhi is hope. The problem is something makes Samadhi so far away, and Samadhi is simply not being puddin'-headed. Samadhi is seeing the thing for what it is instead of your crazy opinion about it. Samadhi is being yourself and letting somebody else be themselves. Their self. I myself, you yourself. Good for both of us. Being able to live in a world without playing God all the time. Without trying to change, editorialize, comment on everything out there. Trying to change, reform, or deprave various contact points we have out there in the world. Samadhi, friends, should be plain easy. Should be easy. I mean, I shouldn't have to say hallelujah when you have Samadhi, but I will. Because it's nice, you know. But should be easy. And I know a large number of you have Samadhi. However, should be easy. Let me describe ignorance first. We have divine core of consciousness within our being called the soul. It knows everything and loves you completely. But due to the desire to express individually, which is good, the soul, you see, the God expression, wanted to go through a process by which divinity would be expressed voluntarily and individually by all his or her parts, all his or her components, all his or her beings or children, so that every person gets a chance every day they live to make choices, to choose God over negativity, to choose God over pain. Being alive means you're making choices. You can choose to go forward, choose to be with the Lord, choose to be divine, choose to be spiritual, choose to make sacrifice, or you can hide from it, hate it, resent it, go crazy, go batty, get bored, all of these choices. Choose, 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 choose. Every breath you take, you'll find that there's some kind of choice going on. You say, I have no choice, I'm alive. Well, now some people are thinking, or they've thought from time to time, I don't want to be alive. They kill themselves, whatever. Choose, choose, choose. That's what the whole universe is saying. Choose, choose, choose. And God is saying, I've got the whole universe out there. All these are parts of my individuality expressing as my creation. I wonder if they will choose me. I wonder if these conscious parts of my being will consciously choose me. And God is there lovingly, waiting to be chosen. It's a charming aspect of God that He doesn't want to interfere with your party. He will not crash your party. He's waiting for you to invite Him. Choose Him. That's the power of you. You got such power. You can make God happy. In a sense, He's pure joy, but in another sense, part of Him is yearning for you. God will not rest. God will not be totally happy until you choose Him. He's waiting for you to voluntarily. He doesn't want to force you to choose Him. You can have as much karmas as you want. That's your business. But He would like to be chosen. It's kind of like a shy girl at times. Would like to be chosen. This conscious part of our being, if we keep turning to it, will guide us through every phase of our life. It will guarantee us the fullest, most beautiful expression of our life. But we ignore it. We're like what I saw yesterday. Lifetime after lifetime, Because our energy is propelled into the sense world, we want to play God. We want to master this or do that, or we're unfulfilled here, or we have the desire for that. We're busy determining from our egoic point of view what we want and what must be. So we're clamoring through life, and we don't get everything we want. In fact, we hated this and we hated that person, and we want this and we wanted that person. So what happens? Incomplete. This unit of consciousness, this soul personality, takes another birth, and another birth, and another birth, and another birth, till finally it starts to consult with God and say, well, God, what did you have in mind here? What do you want to do? And we're kind of like what I saw yesterday, a dead mouse in the snow. This little mouse, relying on his sense information, frightened. This white stuff, this cold stuff, this painful white stuff all over the place. Where to go? Not having recourse to some wisdom like dig down under it or take this path. He just starts running through the snow. And it's so cold and so freezing that he just keeps running. But the snow is so expansive, there is this cold snow everywhere, that finally he can't go on. There's only snow ahead, to the right, the left, behind. Snow. And he dies in it. That's you and me, limited to the sense world. We find this pain of life. We find other aspects of life coming in at us, threatening us, tempting us, giving us pain for pleasure, and on and on and on. And so we take out, without consulting our inner self, and we start this run. Only this sense world, this lower world, is everywhere, and we just can't seem to get out of it. And so going as far as we can in it, we die. But with that consciousness of having to move forward across this world of creation and this world of our opinion, this false concept we have, we again become a unit of consciousness, and we crawl against more and more of this snow, this material existence. And we keep incarnating time and time and time and time and time and time again, until finally we get wise, like, what do I do? Am I here to die in the snow? What do I do? What should I do? And we confront the life principle within us and say, what am I supposed to do? What am I for? Just to crawl across snow and die? What am I for? And that's the beginning of the spiritual search, and that's the beginning of soul guidance. The soul might say, well, dig down under there. Or the soul might say, let me show you. There's a nice warm place right over here. Samadhi is when you have been open to the counsel of your soul about what to do with your life. That samadhi contact is the point at which you cease being a victim to all your lifetimes of desires and fears and worries, and begin to be free to live a new life, a conscious life, and to do with your life what the divine purpose was. I liken going through the different samadhis, from gross objects to subtle, like backing out of a cave toward the light. You get so deep in darkness, you need to have some kind of awareness down there at the foot of the cave. Some of that needs to have light, to give you a clue about where the light's coming from. As a result of that particular samadhi, you begin to see where the light's emerging from, and you begin to move into it. But being so propelled forward into this cave and into this darkness, you don't turn around at first and want to behold the light. Maybe if you beheld it, you'd be blinded. I don't know. So you keep backing out and backing out from gross objects to more subtle objects until finally you're out of the cave and you turn and behold the source of light, the soul, the divine. And you're able to actually look at it. Well, you can't speak, I was going to say, without stammering, but you can't even talk. You look at it, you see it, and you know it. You see your Lord. As you crawl back out of this cave, of your own content, mental content. You become progressively free. Each level of samadhi touches many other parts of your daily consciousness. Your awareness, not only in meditation, but in everything else thereafter, is changed. And progressively you become aware of these realities on each level of your being, from the bliss sheaths, the buddhi, the mental sheaths, prana sheaths, the physical body, and your daily external relationships. It's not easy to have samadhi for those who identify with the five ideas, the right knowledge, the wrong knowledge. It's hard to know God if you've got a lot of wrong concepts about who God is. Like, what if God is cruel? Like, a lot of people have a cruel God. What if he really is cruel? Then it's hard to get to know him. Or what if God's completely uncaring? Some people have an uncaring God. Hard to get to know him. Hard to have samadhi on that. Hard to be that identified. Or fancy. If you're busy fancying that you have enlightenment and fancying you got everything else under the sun, it's hard to find the real when you prefer the fancy or the fantasy. Like, they're trying to help people off drugs in a clinic, and what they do is they sit facing you and they say, generally, you care more about your high than you do about me. And the person says, oh, no, I don't. Yes, you do. You would rather be high than just thinking well of me or just knowing me or being with me. Oh, no, no, no. And what happens ultimately, they're forced to see, when it is the case, that people who are busy turning on with drugs and everything care much more for their own personal comfort and whatever's going on in there, these particular fancies and fantasies, some of them spiritually based, much more about that than life and than you. The ultimate selfish experience became more about their high than you or me. And that's a fact. And that's part of delusion. They're identified with five ideas, identified with this particular realm, far from pain and discomfort. And the reason that some of them say, well, I gave it up because I don't like the after effects. In other words, if you wouldn't have congestion in the chest or whatnot after pot or various things, why not do it? Well, it's an interesting thing. But that's what they've discovered in the field of psychotherapy on drugs, that people really would rather escape there than live or than love. And that's the problem. And that's what they're trying to confront. But the thing is, we've got some people who have done drugs and who have we've got a number of people who have done drugs, and they're great heroes. They have looked at it for what it is, and they have chosen to live and be conscious versus this other area, which was very challenging and interesting. Anyway, what happens is, if you identify with the five ideas, right knowledge, pride in your own ideas, pride in your own knowledge, even if it's right, or pride in your character, which is better than others, even if it is a little better, right knowledge, wrong knowledge, sleep. If you're identified with sleep, if you just love to sleep and be absent, similar to drugs, they say you become so aware through drugs, aware of a part of the spectrum. The rest of the spectrum, including your soul and your friends, have to wait. Right knowledge, wrong knowledge, sleep, fancy, memory. As a result of identification with our memory, painful memories, our joyous memories. Boy, that was good. I wanted some more. All of that. As a result of that identification, we have the particular mental content we do, and that particular mental content is called delusion or confusion. As a result of being identified with and spending most of your time dwelling and desiring in that area, you become either distraught, as you know. That's where you feel so frustrated you don't think God can come. You're depressed a lot of the time. You don't think there is a God, and you feel so blocked. You have this failure pattern. Stupefied is the next state. That's where you're so busy thinking in your particular mental content of things of the world that you don't even think there are other things. You laugh at those who are on the spiritual path. You think it's absurd. Stupefied state. Restless state, where you've got some awareness of the inner self and some awareness of this mental turbulence. You're just back and forth between being turbulent and calm. At least you know there's something inside, and you begin to develop more and more of this calmness, more and more of this awareness and receptivity to the soul. Ultimately, as a result of receptivity to the soul, you become one-pointed. Your mind becomes one-pointed, and finally it becomes clear through the practice of samadhi. One-pointed, you have some samadhis, and you become clear. So the cave, in a sense, is backing out of the four states: distraught, stupefied, restless, and one-pointed. Backing out of the four states through samadhi and development of your character. And if you have trouble developing your character, try for some more samadhi. It very often helps. The process of meditation enables a person to develop one's character a great deal. Character development helps one have samadhi. It goes back and forth. So definitely, but in a different way from the bhava samadhis. You'll find samadhi is designed to affect the whole person. If it's not the whole person, it's just kind of a game. It's a false thing. It's got to be the whole person. Now, the people who find samadhi really difficult will find it's best to do mainly bhakti yoga with some raja yoga for balance. Here are the problems, and I'm going to list the problems. The reasons people have trouble having samadhi are as follows. And we'll consider, what are our obstacles? What are the main obstacles to samadhi? We're working up to a big one, folks. These are the obstacles that keep a person from having samadhi. Diseased. If you're diseased, your body is not healthy enough to get all the energy focused on the object and merge into it. Find this oneness. So disease keeps your mind on the body. So it's very hard to become spiritually enlightened through the Raja Yoga path or the Jnana Yoga path. If you're diseased, if you've got a disease, best to be a bhakta, because yourself, as you are, can love God, and God can love you as you are. It's a very beautiful thing. We're talking about physical disease, but also mental disease, emotional disease. Languor, low on prana, poor nerves. Languor may not be your fault, in a sense, because it might be, deficiency in your nerves, your diet, or whatever. Well, that might be your fault. But you got to have energy to have samadhi. Samadhi is a super conscious state. You've got to be more conscious than ever. 3, doubtful. If you're doubtful, you can't have samadhi. Doubt will keep you from having samadhi because your objective is unknown, so you'll always be doubting whether this is right or your method's right or is this going to work. You've got to be willing to get in the pool in order to learn to swim. If you doubt that you can swim and don't get in the pool, you see, you'll never know. Or you'll never become able to. So a person who takes the effort to do meditation and is open to samadhi has to be able to be open to the prospect that he will have samadhi. I'm meditating, I can't have samadhi. I can't meditate well. If you're doubting that, then you won't. Samadhi is seeing a thing as it is. Don't you think you can see something as it is? In all its aspects. Oh, another reason about doubt being so bad is a spiritual path always has its ups and downs as you go through your samskars. So if you're going to have doubt along with your ups and downs, forget it. You're going to have ups and downs. No yogi has ever not had ups and downs because you're going through the samskaras, all the patterns of all the lifetimes. You're going to have ups and downs. If you doubt you're going to make it, or if you doubt that you can ever experience your personal objective, you won't. 4. Here's an extremely important one. These are all important. Carelessness. Samadhi is a state of careful attention. If you're careless, how can you say you're going to have this careful state? Samadhi is a careful state. It's very selective. It involves dialing the radio exactly, the radio of your mind exactly to the frequency. So if you're careless, not only that, careless to the important as well as the unimportant. You've got to be careful even with the unimportant things. Careful regarding your digestion. Careful regarding all the little factors that add up to your being able to sit there comfortably in that place at that time. So many times you're about to go into samadhi, you burp. Or so many times you're about to go into samadhi, some part of your body feels tense. You didn't do a posture. Your shoulders hurt, or your neck hurts. You didn't stretch your body. Or you find you're about to go into a mood and you find it's too cold in the room. It's bringing you back to your physical body. Or it's too warm in the room. Or there's not enough air in the room. Or the candle is going blub, 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 blub. You know, you're trying to be meditative, blub, 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 and you're just about made it. You've got to be extremely careful with, quote, unimportant, close quote, details, as well as the important ones. Careful attention. Because samadhi is a careful state. It's an attuned state where you've brought your being into a very subtle alignment. It's a very careful place. Almost all our delusion in our whole series of lives comes from being careless. Oh, it won't hurt. And we do this or that causes so much attachment and identification. Much of our delusion, we were careless. We got into it, we didn't pay much attention, we're just stuck in it. We didn't pay attention at the time, we bought the wrong thing, got the wrong relationship going, because it'll do. So many men and women carelessly get together. And then they spend lifetimes trying to get out of that particular astral tie. Carelessness, interesting, very powerful stuff. Carelessness, like some devotees, seem to be really forgetful. They're not forgetful, they're careless. They're not caring about the thing to begin with. They're not forgetful. They're just not paying attention when they're doing the thing. Carelessness comes from heedlessness. You're just not paying attention when you're doing something. If you heed what you're doing, if you can pay more attention to what you're doing, then you'll be careful about your choice. So, you got bad memory. Check it out. You'll likely find you're not paying attention to what you're doing. And that's why you're careless. And don't blame it on your memory. You're heedless, careless. Pay attention to what you're doing. If you can't pay attention to what you're doing, it may be languor. Languor is where you don't have enough energy in your nerves and in your health and your nervous system to pay attention. So then do nutritional and dietetic and exercise things. Get enough sleep, get enough tone in the nerves so that you can pay attention to what you're doing. Samadhi is a state where you're paying attention. It's so well done that it's no effort to pay attention. You've made so much effort to pay attention that suddenly it's easy to pay attention. You're paying attention with ease. So carelessness comes from being heedless rather than attentive, generally. 5. Laziness. You can't have samadhi if you're lazy. People think, well, that counts me out, that counts me out. Now, probably nobody thinks they're lazy. But laziness is the habit of being distracted, the habit of having your mind somewhere else. This is uncomfortable here, I think I'll go out mentally for a sandwich. You notice, if you tend to just be lazing around. You just don't seem to have the energy to do this or that. And yet you do. Your mind's drifting off here and there. You're a wool gatherer. Habit of being distracted. As a habit. This is not an energy problem. Languor is an energy problem. You don't have enough energy in the nerves, or your nerves are not good enough to transport the energy. Laziness is a psychological problem. It's you always want to be somewhere else. Even if you're there in the room talking to the person, he thinks you're talking to him. He's a fool, because you know full well you're out there in your ranch in Australia or someplace. No, you don't need a ranch. You don't have a ranch in Australia. You can just do it in your head. A habit of being distracted is laziness. And that's one of the afflictions of spiritual groups, communes, communities. Habit of being distracted. Y'all think about God. You're not thinking about God generally when you're lazy. You're thinking about yourself doing this or that. Thinking about something else when they're doing things. It's not called being spaced, which is more flattering. Being spaced. I am so high. My consciousness is so expansive, I don't know what's going on. But it's much better to say spaced. But Patanjali would say, you lazy such and such. Because you're putting your mind somewhere else. That's laziness, psychological problem. This desire to be somewhere else is that you want to be a place where it's easier and more comfortable. You want your awareness. It's too painful paying attention. It's too painful carrying this wood or pounding this nail. I want to be somewhere else as much as I can. Love of ease, avoidance of exertion. And here, you can't perfect this body unless you exert it. You can't perfect the mind unless you exert it. It involves application of energy. You can't have anything in life unless you put your energy out. As a result of avoidance of exertion and love of ease, are you sure you belong here? If you decided to take up yoga, you've decided to be more conscious. You've decided to be here and now. So this habit of being distracted is a great, great problem. And let's call it laziness instead of being spaced. Okay, 6. Worldly mindedness. Preoccupation with the world. Preoccupation with our desires, things we want in the world. If you want to stop being worldly minded, thinking about it won't do. You got to change your desires. You cannot say that you're doing your best if you're sitting there and thinking about God. You cannot even have samadhi thinking. You've got to desire it. If you want God, you at least have to desire Him. If you want the higher samadhis, you've got to desire them. You cannot just sit there and do a little mental combination on this inner safe. It won't work. Worldly mindedness. If your desires are for the world, then that's the way it is. You want to have samadhi of delusion more. Your desires are for God, then your mind will come along. So worldly mindedness leads to the 7th one, delusion. Delusion, though, is interesting because it's not only delusion thinking the world is supreme and the world is the most important. Delusion is accepting counterfeit experiences. You can know whether it's a counterfeit experience or not. Did your behavior change? If your behavior changed, if you're a nicer person or a more honest person or a more beautiful person, then you had samadhi. If your behavior is unchanged, you're deluding yourself. You're having counterfeit state. There's always a change of consciousness in samadhi, change of behavior. Delusion also is an unwillingness to keep diving inwards. You think you're having spiritual experience so you can fool yourself into not going farther. A lot of people like to have just little fringe experience. Say, oh, this is really great. But they don't want to be changed. And so they just stay out there right on the edge and fool themselves. So you got to pray to God for this one because it's an ego problem. You got to say, God, help me to want to go farther. Help me to go deeper because I'm deluding myself. These experiences are fine, but they're not changing the way I am to others, the way I am to myself. The eighth obstacle to samadhi, non-achievement of a state. You get a bit of awareness and you can't maintain it. You get a bit of awareness, you can't maintain it. Have trouble keeping going. Well, in this case, you have to have patience and inexhaustible self-surrender, and you'll be able to maintain that state. You'll be able to stay there ultimately through patience and self-surrender. The reason you can't have that state is you couldn't surrender to it. You got a glimpse of it, but you didn't give yourself to it. Number 9. A lot of obstacles, huh? Instability. Can't retain a foothold on the new level. Similar to number 8. This instability on the new level is mainly due to desires, worldly mindedness. Now, those are the 9 obstacles which keep a person from samadhi. And if you will find you're having trouble having samadhi, then find out which of those is the problem. It's generally one of those, almost always one of these. Now, this assumes that you're able to sit still in meditation. If you're not able to sit still in meditation, then you have to work on 10 character defects, 11 asana defects, and 12 prana defects. Does it sound worth it? A lot of defects.